Friends, last we spoke, we left this in California and we had a bit of a cliffhanger. There were going to be two reveals at the Miami International Auto Show, which we are at behind the scenes. They're doing all the setup. We're here before it even opens. And we saw the 2017 Nissan Rogue Hybrid yesterday, as well as a fancy Eames chair. But now, let's take a look at the thing that you and I are probably going to be most excited about, and that is a car that has a turbocharger, but one meant more for performance, not efficiency that we've been seeing as of late, and B, most importantly, a manual transmission. So yes, that's a Sentra, but it's an SR Turbo. So let's start where we always start, the engine. Right, so let's unpack some numbers. But before we do, a little bit about the Miami Auto Show. I have never been to this show before, and I thought for sure this would be in downtown Miami. Instead, it's in downtown Miami Beach. So for me, it's a first to go to an auto show, at least a new car auto show that is on a beach. Anyway, let's put that aside, focus on the engine. So this is a new to this car, 1.6 liter, 4-cylinder, direct injected gasoline turbocharged engine. It has 188 horsepower, comes in at 5,600 RPM, and 177 pound-feet of torque, which comes in at a very low 1,600 RPM, stays flat all the way up to 5,200 RPM. Now the main reason the torque comes in so low is a compression ratio of 10.5 to 1. Now that we got that, this is, if you speak to the engineers, they're very excited to say this is like 50% more horsepower than the base car. Sounds great, but really it's more than just adding 50% more horsepower. You got to strengthen the car to deal with the extra horsepower, kind of like the lessons from the old muscle car days. So I wouldn't really call this a muscle car, but they did strengthen some of the bits here. So the shock towers, as well as the subframe underneath the engine, is stronger than the base car to accommodate for the extra weight of the engine, as well as the extra power of the engine. Now that we've got that, I think what we need to do is we need to focus on probably one of the more important parts, maybe almost as important as this, but that's inside. So a little bit behind the scenes here, you can hear all the stuff going on. You can, there's people kind of milling about, setting up for the show, and next door they're doing a presentation run through. So the stuff that we see or you guys would see, that's what they're doing next door. I won't tell you who, but you might hear some stuff about a different car. Anyway, let's go inside here. This is the part I am most excited about, believe it or not, more than the engine. Because let's take a count of the pedals, shall we? Let's see, there's one. There's two, and what's this? A third pedal, which would mean this can go more than one direction of movement. In a Sentra, a manual transmission, people. You should be excited. Anyway, there is one more thing, not quite as exciting as this. All of these are fitted with a sunroof, which is, I guess, makes it rather fancy. Okay. I'm going to stop geeking out about transmissions and let's talk outside. Okay, so let's put aside all of excitement for extra power and a manual transmission. So basically, everything you and I have been pissing and moaning about for the past couple of years is now sitting behind us here. But yes, that is wonderful, and it's like, I feel there's a timeliness we need to say. One of the most comedic geniuses of our time, Gene Wilder, said in one of his most famous movies, remember what happened to the boy that got everything he always wanted, and that was he lived happily ever after. But you and I, we're going to unpack this a little bit here because we have to talk about trends. Like we did yesterday, we're going to talk about a trend here because this is, I want to say, the third car that I know of that's either out or coming out besides a GTI where it's this segment, so a C segment car with a higher horsepower engine and a manual transmission. I know of one other coming down the pike. So my question to you really is this. Do you want to see more of this? Would you pay more money for a car that is efficiency effectively, which is what a C segment car is, but more horsepower and yes, a manual transmission, which technically is cheaper to build, but most car manufacturers charge you more for it. I don't know why, but they do. So don't just tell me yes or no, but tell me why or why not, and most importantly, what you drive currently. Hopefully it's something with a manual transmission, because people, I want to keep manual transmissions alive. I'm old-fashioned and I just like it that way. So let me know in the comments below or via our social media, MotoManTV all one word, MotoManTV all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, I want to leave you with two things. Number one, make sure you download our fancy new mobile application, which you can download for free at Apple iTunes and Google Play. And oh, by the way, I haven't told you that we are live now on not one, but 5. Count them, 5 international airlines. Emirates, Virgin Atlantic, Virgin America, Virgin Australia, and soon, American Airlines. So maybe that should have been the point number 1. But anyway, let's go to point 2, which is a fun fact. The next door neighbor that you've been hearing over there, that is the Genesis brand. And our friend Erwin Raphael, who runs it, he just walked past here. So I don't want him to hear this, but one of the other cars that's coming out that's kind of similar in this segment comes from his cousin. But you didn't hear that from me. Anyway, until I see you next time, bis später.